Well, hey there, everybody. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is a special companion video to go along with today's, that's Thursday, December the 14th, episode of the John Campea Show. Now, we ran out of time on the John Campea Show to get to all the live questions that came in, so I'm making this companion video to make sure all those questions get answered. So that's what today's video is, so let's jump right into it. The first one we're going to hear today comes from Jeffrey Podolsky, who writes, regarding Lady Bird Rotten Tomatoes score, what is your thought on critics who give bad reviews for the sake of bad reviews? This particular critic also gave Wonder Woman an F, and his reasons were just off the wall. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what Jeffrey is talking about, on today's episode of the John Campea Show, we covered a topic about this one critic who became the first critic to give Lady Bird a rotten review on Rotten Tomatoes, breaking its 100% score. Now, the reason this is an issue, because, okay, if one critic didn't like it, one critic didn't like it, who cares? The reason this was an issue is because the critic gave the movie a B-, yet just because he felt the movie didn't deserve 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, he clicked the negative button on Rotten Tomatoes when he was registering his review, breaking the 100% on Lady Bird and making it a 99%, even though he gave it a B-, saying generally he likes the movie, but he just decided it didn't deserve that 100% because he admitted this on social media. He just didn't believe it deserved it, so he clicked the negative button. Of course, breaking the spirit of the rules on Rotten Tomatoes and breaking everybody's trust and betraying his own opinion as well. He betrayed his own review. So anyway, we talked about that on the show and everything that it meant. Now, Jeffrey's pointing out that, you know, what do I think about critics who just give bad reviews for the sake of bad reviews? Well, first of all, let's address that first. He didn't give it a bad review. That's the thing. He gave it a positive review, not a glowing review. He didn't think it was great, but he thought it was pretty good. And he gave it that in his review. But then he just decided it didn't deserve 100%, so he clicked the negative. So that to me is a totally different issue and stuff like that. Now, you're writing, this particular critic also gave Wonder Woman an F, and his reasons were just off the wall. Well, listen, that's a different situation altogether. There are people out there who did not like Wonder Woman. I did. But there are people out there, an okay number of them, that did not like Wonder Woman. Now, you can say his reasons are off the wall, but that's not your place, and it's not my place. To say why you didn't like something is not valid. No, everybody's entitled to their opinion. If for whatever reason Wonder Woman didn't work for him, and he gave it an F. But that's a different situation than what we have with this Lady Bird thing. Because he gave Lady Bird a positive score. He gave it a B-. That's what he gave it. So this thing with Wonder Woman, okay, he didn't like Wonder Woman. Whatever his reasons were, those are his own, and he's entitled to his reasons and his opinions. And that's fine. If he wants to give it an F, give it an F. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But he gave Lady Bird a positive review, but then just decided, well, I'm going to register as negative. Even though it's positive, I'm just going to register it as negative just because I don't want to have 100%. Those are two different scenarios. The same guy, but two different scenarios. So I'm perfectly fine with him giving Wonder Woman a negative score. That's his opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. What I am upset about is that he broke his own opinion. He gave the movie a positive score, not a great score, but a positive score, and went ahead and registered it as negative anyway, only because he didn't want it to have 100% of Rotten Tomatoes. And those are two different things. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Jeffrey. It's a great point of view. All right, James B. writes, I'm excited for the Disney acquisition of the Fox properties. Disney has a lot of smart people. You're damn right they do. Look, Fox has many smart people. Warner Brothers has many smart people. Absolutely, these are why these companies are big and huge and long-term and successful. But Disney is definitely one of those companies. They seem to have a really good corporate culture over at Disney, and they seem to be having things going in the right direction. Look, other companies have great corporate cultures too, but Disney is one of them. And you're right, they are doing things pretty well over there. All right, the next one comes to us from Tony Bush, who writes, it's funny, I'm calling it, John. Seth Rogen's Newsflash and Natalie Portman's Jackie is a shared cinematic universe. Everything's got to be shared cinematic universe. Wouldn't it be a kick in the teeth? For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Seth Rogen, we talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day. Seth Rogen has just signed on to be the lead role. He's playing Walter Cronkite in the movie Newsflash about the historical day that John F. Kennedy was shot. And what happened in the newsroom when they had to report, number one, that he had been shot, and then when they had to come back on TV a few hours later to report that he had died. That's a huge pivotal moment in the history of the United States of America. So it's going to be an important film. The idea that, but wouldn't it be a kick in the teeth if Natalie Portman shows up playing Jackie O at the same time? Shared cinematic universes everywhere. All right. This next one comes to us from John Harrison, who writes, "Hello, John. Recently found your channel. Could Disney do an upside-down universe for the X-Men and Deadpool? And do you think Stan Lee is excited?" Well, I mean, look, I've been saying for a while that I believe one of the options on the table for Disney is to take X-Men and even Fantastic Four and Deadpool if they wanted to, and create a separate cinematic universe separate from the MCU. But, as I read today earlier on the John Campea Show, Bob Iger has since made comments saying, "We are expanding our Marvel Cinematic Universe with X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool." So, at least on its surface, it looks like Bob Iger and Disney are actually bringing X-Men and Deadpool and Fantastic Four into the MCU. As a fan, I'm in the minority, but I kind of wish they would keep it as a separate universe. I think they can do more creative things there, and the MCU is already getting overcrowded. But it is kind of exciting to see what the possibilities are. Hulk versus Wolverine. Just give me Hulk versus Wolverine and everything's forgiven. That's my thought anyway. All right, we move on now to, where'd it go? Beastmaster. And Beastmaster writes in, "Won't all Marvel shows be under like Perlmutter? Things don't look that good in this regard. And what will happen to Lucifer?" Well, I mean, Lucifer is going to become a Disney show. It's going to become a property of Disney at some point. How long it'll take for this to actually all now happen? Yes, the deal's been signed, but we're talking months and years before we see the full fruition and materialization of everything that's going to be in this deal. There's a lot of moving parts here. So eventually you're going to see Lucifer probably on Disney's streaming service is probably where you're going to see Lucifer end up. As far as Perlmutter, I'm not even 100% sure Perlmutter's still there. I have, for some reason, I'm having a buzzing in my head saying Perlmutter left. I'm probably wrong about that, but it all depends on how this thing shakes out. It all depends on how this thing shakes out, where they want to put certain properties and all this kind of stuff. It all really depends. So we will have to just see how that all goes. Blake Bonecutter writes, "PSA for the viewers, don't go on Reddit today." Let's see. "Don't go on Reddit today. I'm going to hell for this." Has put Star Wars spoilers all across the front page. All right. Well, there you go. Thank you so much for letting us know. Today is Star Wars Day. It opens in theaters. Finally, you get a chance to get out to the theater and see it. I'm going to see it for a third time tonight. Very excited. Thank you for that heads up, Blake. Really appreciate you taking the time to do that for the rest of the fans. Anita D.A. Adams writes, "Just a theory, but imagine Reed Richards bought Stark Tower using Spider-Man Homecoming, during Spider-Man Homecoming, and that's why we are moving everything out of there." Well, you could use that, but remember, this deal all came well after Spider-Man Homecoming was shot, so it's not like they put that in, because if you remember Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony has sold Avengers Tower. They never say to who. I think what they were going for was that it was going to be sold to Oscorp. That's what I think they were going to do in the movies, that Oscorp was buying the tower. But now that this has happened, you could now say that the tower is being bought by Reed Richards and some foundation, and it's going to be now Fantastic Four Tower. I think that's some good thinking. I don't think that was ever their intention, but that is something they could do now if they wanted to. But if they were going to say they were selling to Oscorp, they probably already have a storyline in mind. They probably won't break that. But it is an interesting option that they do have at their disposal. Let's see if it actually happens. Good thought, man. All right. This next one comes to us from Jose M, who writes, "But John, serious now, net neutrality is gone." And again, I'm going to keep this channel talking about movies. But what is happening today in Washington is a tragic set of corporate bought and sold government people voting to let their fellow corporate billionaires get away and do away with the net neutrality rules, keeping the internet open and fair for everybody. That's being swept away. It looks like it's going to happen today. All we can hope for is once there's a new administration in Washington, whether that's in 3 years, whether that's in 8 years, whether that's in 12 years, that the new administration, when it comes in, will do away with this and put net neutrality rules back in place. It is important. But that's all I'm going to talk about for now, because this is supposed to be talking about movies and entertainment and fun stuff. But thanks for bringing it up, Jose. Sam Fisher is asking, does Disney own a part of Netflix? As far as I know, they do not. They might own some shares, because anybody can own shares if it's publicly traded. But as far as I know, they don't, but they might. If they are, they're a minority owner and don't have any ability to control what goes on over there. Interesting question, though. Should look that up. See if Disney owns any shares in Netflix. Maybe they do. Andrew Shiver writes, oh, Andrew Shiver doesn't write anything. He just put in a super chat. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate that. Yannon Mello writes, I feared the cancellation of the X-23 James Mangold movie's development and pre-production. So if there might be a place for R-rated MCU flicks, will it still possibly happen? You are the best, John. Well, let's be very, very clear about this. There is no pre-production of X-23. There is none. James Mangold made some comments, had an idea about getting a script together, whatever, but, 95 out of 100 scripts that got written, that get developed there, die at that stage and don't move on. There has never been any sort of a confirmation or claim that there was going to be an X-23 movie. That has never been said by anybody. And if they did, I don't even know if they would need it to be rated R. I mean, since Logan's not in there doing his thing. Although they might make a rated R, who knows. But let's be very clear about that. Don't think for a second that there is this fast track and pre-production is happening on X-23. None of that is true. James Mangold just talked positively about it, mentioned something about maybe doing a script. But look, listen, 1,000 scripts get written every day in Los Angeles. 1,000. You go to any coffee shop, it's filled with 20 or 40 guys at different seats with their mocha, latte, frappa, whatevers, while typing away on their scripts on their left. There are 1,000 scripts a day written in this town. Half of 1% ever get actually produced, and that's kind of the situation that X-23 is in. So it may never have happened anyway. We'll see if there's any additional interest, but I think they're rebooting the X-Men universe. And whereas Fox has always been continuity schmontinuity, Marvel is not continuity schmontinuity. Marvel is very firm on continuity. So I honestly don't know if Marvel will have any plans for doing an X-23, to be honest with you. Let's wait and see what happens. Tons of possibilities. Maybe it will happen. All right. Next one comes to us from Lycon0, who writes, hey, John, I personally think that you should register with Rotten Tomatoes. If nothing else, it would allow even more people to see your reviews. I'm not interested. Mostly because I love Rotten Tomatoes, although I've been quite upset with some of the stunts they've been pulling lately. But generally speaking, I love Rotten Tomatoes. And I love their system. But I do not primarily consider myself a film critic. I'm a film pundit. And they are two different things. And I will review movies, but I don't consider myself a film critic. And I think places like Rotten Tomatoes should be for film critics. And maybe you can make an argument, John, not everybody on Rotten Tomatoes is a film critic. I get it, that's true. But I don't see myself as a film critic. I wish I did, but I don't. So I don't need my opinion influencing the Rotten Tomato meter at all. I'm perfectly happy doing what I'm doing. But thank you so much for that input. I appreciate that. Julio Cardenas writes, are we still getting Multiple Man with James Franco? Good question. Look, we mentioned this today earlier because there are other projects. People were asking about Gambit. Is Gambit still going to happen? Who knows? If you don't remember, just recently it was announced and reported that James Franco had signed a deal with Fox to do Multiple Man. He's an X-Men universe character. You see, things like that's in a different category than, say, Deadpool 2, New Mutants, and X-Men Phoenix, because those films are all already shot. They're done. I mean, they're still in post-production, but the shooting is all done. So those films are fine. What happens to those movies that haven't started shooting? What happens to plans for like Multiple Man and Gambit? What if they don't fit into this rebooted idea of, if Marvel reboots X-Men, what happens to those things? Don't know. We may not see Gambit. We may not see Multiple Man. Those deals may be dead and gone. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, this deal with Fox and Disney, again, I said this a million times on the show today, but it's got to be important to remember. These are agreements that are thousands of pages long, containing hundreds of thousands of details. And we are only getting a glimpse at like half of 1% of the details right now. In the coming days, weeks, months, and years, we will understand more of the details. But questions like that, like, yeah, what happens with that Multiple Man movie? Don't know. We're going to have to just wait and see. Thanks for the question, Julio. Devontae Brown writes, was Palpatine reveal as Emperor meant as a twist? I don't think so, because I think they knew almost everybody. Look, as soon as Chancellor or Senator Palpatine shows up, we all know most Star Wars fans knew that's the Emperor. And I think so. I don't think they ever thought it as a twist. It's meant as a twist, as a reveal to the characters within the movie, but I think they knew it wasn't a twist to us in the audience because everybody knew that, yes, Palpatine is the guy who becomes Emperor. So that was never a big surprise to most people, I think. All right. Andrew Gifford writes, Iger suggested an R-rated Marvel brand for Deadpool. Yes, he did. We talked about that on the John Campea Show earlier today, that one of the post-announcement comments that Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, made was that he's open to Deadpool staying R-rated. He said, hey, look, I think there's room for R-rated material in the MCU as long as we let the audience know what they're in for. Like, make sure the audience is very clear. This Deadpool movie's rated R. Don't take your kids to it. He said, as long as we let the audience know what's coming, we can do R-rated stuff, including R-rated Deadpool. Now, one of the examples I brought up on the John Campea Show today was, would they let, like, how R-rated would they let a Deadpool be? Would they let them have the International Women's Day? I doubt Marvel would have allowed that International Women's Day joke in Deadpool. Do you remember the one I'm talking about where she's like, then, yeah? Anyway, so will they let them go that rated R? Who knows? But he is open to R-rated material. All right, thanks a lot, Andrew. Hey, that's why all film's subjective, man. I get it. Everybody else loves it, and that's totally great. I watched it, and I didn't think it felt authentic. I was bored by it. To me, it just wasn't all that good. Wasn't terrible, wasn't garbage, but I would have been the first guy. And this is one of the highest rated films of the year. So, hey, don't listen to me. Listen to everybody else. I'm just the odd man out on this one. But just being honest with you, I could pretend to be cool and say, oh, yeah, I loved it too. But you guys know my agreement with you. I will only ever give you my honest opinion, whether it's a popular opinion or an unpopular one. I will only give you my honest opinion and let you judge me as you will. And I didn't like Lady Bird all that much. So normally I'm totally in agreement with the rest of the critics, but every once in a while I'm not, and this is one of those situations. I wish I liked it more because then I could be cool. Let's see. Luis Blanco writes, my grandparents are here from Bolivia. That's awesome. They don't know much English, but they have never seen Star Wars in theater. Should I take them? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Because you've got a couple of problems. One, they don't know anything about Star Wars. Two, they're not really good with the English language. I would probably say, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I would probably say take a pass. Take a pass at bringing them to see Star Wars. That might just be more confusing and awkward for them than anything else. But, hey man, only you know your grandparents. I don't. So you make your decision, and I'm sure it'll be a good one. All right, this next one comes to us from Darren Chase. And Darren Chase writes, with streaming becoming more popular, what does this do to theaters? They have competed with TV using surround sound, Technicolor. How do you think theaters will respond to the threat of streaming? Well, look, the one thing, I've always said this, and this doesn't change, by the way. Nothing has changed with this deal between Disney and Netflix, other than yet another streaming service is popping up. My theory's always been this, is that the movie-going experience can never be replicated at home. I've got a great home theater system, a great one. You may have a great home theater system, but my home theater system and your home theater system suck compared to a real modern movie theater. And the experience, see, to me, like, I'm going to go see Star Wars The Last Jedi again tonight, and I'm going to go with my friends. We're going to be, and my wife, and we're going to be in a packed theater with hundreds of other strangers, all feeling that excitement and the energy. It's an event. Going to the movies is an event. And going with the big screen and the big sound with all these people laughing, jumping, shouting, and hollering with everybody, there's no experience like it. It is my favorite thing in the world. The movie-going experience to me is my favorite thing in the world. And I really think that the movie theater industry needs to really focus on what makes it unique. And if you do, it'll be around forever. If you don't, it'll disappear. So there are some really interesting challenges facing the movie theater industry right now that we've never had before. But if they can always capitalize on the one thing that makes them the unique entity of the movie-going experience, then they'll always be in business. If they fail at that, as they are currently failing at that, then they could be in for a long next couple of years. But we'll see how that all turns out. Thanks a lot for the question, Darren. All right, Zach93Z writes, Warner Brothers reboot Batman film, change course of Justice League, dude, you get, write in English, my friend. I don't, leaving out vowels. I think you're asking, could Warner Brothers reboot the Justice League with Batman? I think they can. I don't think they're going to, unfortunately. But I think you just wipe the slate clean. You've got Matt Reeves directing Batman films. He's getting a new Batman coming in. So just start that. Make that the start of your new DC cinematic universe. And you have a better chance for success. And start over and build on success, a foundation of success, instead of building on the ashes and rubbles of critically hated films and audience-dividing films. And that's what I think they should do, but I don't think that's what they're doing. I do think they are moving ahead with their current plans, unfortunately, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that ultimately it works out. Colico writes, some are saying Disney will stop smaller movies from happening, like the ones Fox Searchlight makes. Opinion on this? Disney has always put out the odd small little film. Like whether you're talking about $1 Million Arm, or whether you're talking about not The Perfect Storm, but the Bravest Hours or something like that, the one with Chris Pine from last year, they put out smaller films as well. Yes, they're known for their big blockbusters, but they also have arms in their divisions that they put out smaller films. And who's to say that in acquiring Fox that they don't keep Searchlight? They won't call it Fox Searchlight, but who's to say they're not going to just keep Searchlight as its own division? Maybe they won't, but maybe they will. Again, that's one of the many hundreds of thousands of details that we'll find moving forward. But there's nothing to say that Disney won't keep Searchlight as it is to crank out potentially Academy Award winning, Academy Award buzzworthy films. There's a lot of interesting possibilities here. Maybe they'll happen, maybe they won't. But let's take a breath and see what these details are and see how Disney's going to handle this. Again, we are probably months away from really getting a really clear picture of it. But let's hold off on being too upset by it until we actually see what their plans are, because maybe they're just going to keep it together. All right, let's see here. Oh, by the way, guys, just before I finish off, let me do a quick plug here for my Patreon page. Of course, my Patreon page is the one thing that keeps the lights on around here. Do me a favor. If you're somebody who enjoys my content and you watch my videos every day, just do me a favor and run over to patreon.com/John Campea. Check it out. You'll get all the information there about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter makes these shows possible, and what the benefits are of being a Patreon supporter. And if you do, and you want to become a Patreon supporter, that is awesome. And if you don't, that is perfectly fine too. I'm just happy you're here being a film fan with me, watching my shows. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on here. We just have like 3 more to go. This one comes to us from Celia, who writes, I was thinking the same, John. Zach, talking about Zac Efron. This comes from the show earlier today. Zach could be a good actor for Wolverine. He's shorter and he is jacked up, and not to mention he is a decent actor. Yeah, I mentioned on the show earlier today that, look, I understand it is not a popular opinion to say Zac Efron's a really good actor. I think, but that's mostly being said by people who've only seen the bad movies he's in. He's done a number of smaller indie films that, like Me and Orson Welles. Oh my God. First of all, Me and Orson Welles is a really good movie. And Zac Efron kills it. Paperboy, he kills it. When he's in a film that really calls on him to bring up big dramatic acting range, he can do it. Zac Efron is a good actor. I stand on that. Yes, he's been in some really crappy movies. Absolutely he has. But I will absolutely argue with anybody, my fellow film fans. You and I will have a passionate debate. I will stand on the fact that Zac Efron's a really good actor. He's got chops, dude. He's got chops. And I think, look, I don't care who they cast as Wolverine. As long as it's somebody who's a really good actor, I'm fine with it. But you could do a lot worse than Zac Efron. He's a good actor. He's young, which means you could have him be Wolverine for the next 15 years. He's incredibly muscular. Like, he's in better shape than Hugh Jackman. Like, watch Baywatch. I mean, don't watch Baywatch. It's terrible. But if you watch Baywatch, and this dude, he's basically looking like a bodybuilder these days. He's shorter than Hugh Jackman. I mean, there's a lot of upside to using a Zac Efron as Wolverine if he would ever do it. I doubt he would, but there's a lot of upside. But then again, lots of other actors would do well at the same time. I don't care who they cast as long as it's somebody who's a good actor, but I would be totally okay with the idea of Zac Efron. All right. Whale Benali writes, how are you today? I'm good, Wally. Thank you so much. Is W-A-E-L. I think that's pronounced whale. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I know you've been ranting lately, but rightly so in regards to Star Wars The Last Jedi. Keep up the great work. Can't wait for you to try and say my name again. So you already knew I was going to mispronounce it, right? Let me take another shot here. Weil? Maybe it's pronounced Weil, like W-H-I-L-E. Maybe it's spelled W-A-E-L. Weil? Benali? I feel pretty good about Benali. But Weil? Is that it? I don't know. Let me know if I got it right or right. Okay. Final question or comment of the day came to us from Who Flung Poo. What a great name. I love it. And he writes, just want to drop you a deuce. Just want to drop you a deuce. Thanks. So thank you so much. Who Flung Poo. I appreciate that very much. All right, guys, that will do it for this little companion video to today's episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you to all you guys for tuning in and watching this extra little video. And thank you to you guys who were watching the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. I think I'll make a habit out of this, that I want to make sure everybody's questions get answered. So I think from now on, whenever there's more questions that I can answer on the show in time, I'll do another video and make sure they do get answered. That gives us another video a day. Who knows? Let me know what you think about that. Jump down to the comment section and let me know. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.